Well, hey everybody, Mike Griffith here. Welcome to Sunday Night Mike, a little abbreviated show. Do a little weekend wrap on what's happened. I guess the big golf tournament today, or the head-to-head play, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson. Hope everybody enjoyed that. Hope everybody is enjoying their Memorial Day weekend. Hope it's a safe one. Hope it's a happy one. Hope you've been able to visit with family and friends. So I want to get the show keyed up here. Not going to have a show tomorrow night. Wanted to let you know that right out of the gate. Last time we talked, Friday night, we were tentatively planning on a Monday night show. No Monday night show. So instead, we're going to have a show on Wednesday at noon. And you want to know that because we're going to have Greg McGarity on with us. And Greg has agreed to go live with us. We had Tom Crean last week. And this week, Greg McGarity. So good timing to get the Georgia Athletic Director on the air next week with all the changes, right? Everybody coming back to campus on June 8th, including the incoming freshmen, different programs, different conferences around the country. I think Nebraska's back on June 1st. The Big Ten has pretty much enabled their schools to make their own decisions on when they'll come back. The Big 12 says June 15th. Have not heard. Reached out to a friend of mine that works at Clemson. They don't know when they're coming back yet. So there was a lot of news last week going on. I'll tell you what today, this Georgia-Tennessee rivalry is really taking off. I almost feel like the Florida fans aren't enough anymore. Like the Georgia fans are just kind of like, swatting them aside. And, the Florida fans almost seem beat down. There's a little false optimism out there. Danny Kanell's made some picks. I've seen CBS Sports have made some picks. Now people are trying to rationalize that, well, maybe Florida's not better, but they have an easier schedule, so we're going to pick them. But Georgia fans are kind of like, whatever. The Tennessee fan base, however, does appear to be getting on the nerves of the Georgia fan base. This is just my observation from Twitter. Now, Twitter is certainly not the best gauge, the best barometer for the reality of the sports world. But it is kind of the Wild West. It is, I must admit, entertaining. Even though they come at me, I am a huge target. There's a radio station. They guys just love to just... So today, for instance, all right, I'm just going to give you this for instance. You guys heard Peyton Manning say that he wasn't going to wear red and black. Like they were saying, Phil and Brady, they match, but Peyton wasn't going to wear the red and black to match Tiger because he didn't want to wear Georgia colors. And he didn't want Georgia and Kirby Smart to be able to put that on their media channels, which was hilarious. It was a classic, but it was funny because it was true. The reason comedy is true is there's usually an nth of degree of truth to it, right? And we're all going, heck yeah, And I was there the last time, I can guarantee you that, Peyton and Georgia are, oil and water, because I was covering Tennessee in 2017, and they elected to checker the stadium. And it was the 2017 Georgia team. And I'm covering Tennessee, and I'm going, oh my God, are they really going to checker the stadium with Georgia coming? They're like, well, Peyton Manning's going to be here. I'm like, yeah, but this is not the game to checker the stadium, okay? Because that Georgia team in 2017 was loaded, and they were upset still from the year before in the Hail Mary. So I saw that coming. I said, okay, Tennessee's going to checker the stadium for Georgia. Know where this one's going. Bad idea. 41-0 later. And it was brutal. It was every bit as dominant. And I told Brandon Adams right then, I used to do his show from Tennessee. I'd be his weekly guest. I said, Brandon, Georgia's got the best team in the country. They're going to win it all. He's like, don't say that, Mike. It's too early. I said, no. It was dominant. It was smash mouth. It was power. There was an edge to Georgia football that I had never seen. Now, I'd seen many good Georgia teams, including covering that Sugar Bowl game against Hawaii. So I'd seen good Georgia before, but I had never seen edgy Georgia. And that win over Tennessee, man, whew, that was edgy. So, no, this is water. I'm out on the porch. It's still pretty warm. Summer's here. I'm good with it. You guys might notice I have a friend here. This is Mason the Bulldog. and he's Mason the Bulldog, because I want to be clear about something here. I was a Bulldog in high school. I went to Mason High School in Michigan, and we were the Bulldogs. And I got Mason the Bulldog as a birthday present from a friend and put it on my porch. Why? Because everybody else in the neighborhood has a Bulldog on their porch. I admit I may be caving to peer pressure a little bit. But he's not painted red and white. I'm a journalist. There is a level of objectivity here. So he is Mason the Bulldog. He can get along with all the other Uggas in the neighborhood. We even have a Mississippi State Bulldog on the front porch in our neighborhood. We've got Bulldogs on, I'll bet you that by the end of this summer, we'll have Bulldogs on more than half the porches in my neighborhood. I don't know how many of you, most of you I think, well, some of you are watching in Georgia. Have you ever just counted the number of Bulldogs on the front porch that people have? I mean, whoever makes these ceramic Bulldogs, I don't know, do they paint them or maybe they come as all, I don't know. This one just came, he's just black. Mason the Bulldog just black. Everybody's asking what I'm drinking. It's water. I got this bad habit of trying to get a walk in before the show, and it was hot. Neighborhood pool's open, got some laps in, that was good. Hope you all have gotten to your exercise. Hope you've stayed busy. If you missed the start of the show, I was welcoming everyone in, and we were talking about rivalries, and I was talking about how I feel like the Tennessee rivalry has elevated in the Georgia fan base. Okay, so now I'm going to share this live post to my personal Facebook page, which means we will probably have some Tennessee people enter the room if they're not already there. When they come in the room, I am not going to be responsible for what they say or how they win. Maybe they won't. Maybe the Facebook crowd doesn't seem to be as crazy as the Twitter crowd. The Twitter crowd, absolutely nuts. Talking, what are we going to say? Talking SEC rivalries and Memorial Day weekend. How's that for a headline? Tell I'm a pro. Just whip that right out, right? No thought. Yeah, so Peyton Manning today. He's in the golf cart. Everybody's watching it. You know, we're all digging it. It's live sports. Thank goodness. It's fun. The live mics were a great idea. They were ingenious. These guys are entertainers, you know. Whether you like Manning or whether you don't like Manning or whether you like Brady or you don't like Brady. I think we all like them to some degree. Like when they're out of their uniform, you're like, you know what? These are pretty cool guys. Well, yeah, no kidding. These are like two of the greatest leaders in football history. And they have charisma and they can win the room and they know how to entertain and they know how to own it. And it was just brilliant to put these guys on television in this golf match today. But Peyton Manning says, I'm not going to let Kirby Smart get a picture of me in black and red for their social media account. And I tweeted out, this is all I tweeted. I said, Georgia fans take note, social media matters. Even Peyton is conscientious of Kirby Smart. Of course he is. Peyton Manning is the most aware person on the planet. Peyton Manning had his own PR person when he was in college. Everything with Peyton Manning is planned out. It is. Now that's not to say he's not funny. That's not to say he's not spontaneous. But Peyton Manning is a brilliant public relations creation in addition to being, what was he, a 5-time NFL MVP, a great quarterback. I've interviewed Peyton on a few occasions. Listen, man, everything is dress right dress. You go interview Peyton Manning, the lighting is set up a certain way. The questions are going to come a certain way. I mean, most controlled guy ever. But when he needs to be spontaneous and funny, he showed you today he can be. He is a true sports entertainer and loved it and thought it was great that Peyton Manning, you hear that thunder? If it starts raining sideways, that'll be the end of the show. Okay? I don't know what's coming. I probably should have checked the radar, but I didn't. I said, you know what? I'm getting the show in. I'm doing it. I don't care if it's after 9. I'm going because I don't have a Monday night show. So I've got to do the show tonight. But if you missed the news, there will be a show Wednesday at noon, and we will have Greg McGarity will join us live, spontaneous. Greg McGarity. Don't know what you think about Greg? I like him. I've had nothing but good luck with Greg McGarity. I think he's transparent. He answers questions. And I think he fits what the model for what you want with Kirby Smart. Because with Kirby Smart, you've got a coach. It's kind of a whirling dervish. I mean, Kirby gonna Kirby, right? Kirby's got his ideas. Kirby's strong-minded, and you need an athletic director that's willing to work with the coach, right? And a guy like Greg that says, you know what? I want to work with my coaches. I need my coaches to have visions, and my job as the AD is to fulfill those visions. So that's how Greg does it. So anyway, back to the Peyton Manning story. So all I tweeted was, Georgia fans take note, social media matters, even Peyton Manning, conscientious of Kirby Smart. The replies that I got on my Twitter timeline, you would have thought that I said Peyton Manning was the word. I mean, just a full-out attack. Like, attack Mike, attack Georgia, 1980, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, what? What? What is this? Tennessee has stirred it up this offseason with this recruiting class that's ranked number 2 on the strength of 23 commits. So people are talking. They got people talking about Tennessee. It's like you're back at the big person table. Now you need to know how to act. Now that people are talking, don't start throwing things and insulting everyone that discusses your program. This is what you want. You want people to discuss. You want people to notice that Peyton Manning is talking about Kirby Smart. You want to be a part of the discussion. So relax if you're Tennessee. Be glad to be back at the big person table. Jeremy Pruitt and Philip Fulmer are building some momentum. You won 6 games in a row. Be happy with that. Don't be picking scabs and kicking the sleeping Bulldogs, because the last thing Tennessee needs is Kirby Smart upset on November 14th. Kirby Smart, they need Georgia to be in a place where Georgia's like, okay, clinch the East, get through the rest of the month healthy for the SEC championship game. That's where they need Georgia to be, where Kirby's like, okay, we're up by 17 points going in the fourth quarter. Let's go ahead and put Carson or Dwan in to hand off and run the football and win 31-14. That's what they want. That's the best case scenario for Tennessee. A 17-point loss at Georgia. And you know what? Maybe Tennessee beats Kentucky again. Maybe Tennessee upsets Florida. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But I picked it the last 2 years, by the way. And I was wrong, right? Tennessee people like come to me and say I'm wrong. Yeah, I was wrong because I picked Tennessee to beat Florida the last 2 years. I don't pick them to beat Florida this year. I'm just going to be honest. I don't. But I think they're going to have a good class. I think they'll finish in the top 10 again. And I also think, based on what I'm saying, that this rivalry between Tennessee and Georgia is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And part of that has to do with the game being moved from October to November later in the season. It's going to be one last team, one last SEC East team that's got a chance to derail Georgia, or one last grab for Tennessee to get a marquee win. And as Tennessee gets better, I think that November date between Georgia and Tennessee is going to turn into a really big day for Georgia and Tennessee football. Now, I don't think they're there yet, but I think we're talking about them. And I think it's great for college football that Peyton Manning doesn't want to wear red and black. And I think it's great that I've never seen Kirby Smart wear orange. I don't know if any of you have seen Kirby Smart wear orange. I have never seen Kirby Smart in anything any remotely close to orange. Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever seen him in royal blue either. Like this blue here I'm wearing. Some of you, I'm surprised nobody's gigged me yet. It's kind of it's an Air Force blue. Let's call it Air Force blue. How about that? You're gonna let me slide with Air Force blue. So let me take a look. Some of your comments, questions, thoughts. Joseph Kennedy says, if they can stay within 20, I think Tennessee's defense is going to be pretty good. I'm reading a book that Phil Savage did, and I wish I would have brought it out here. I would have held it up for you. I think it's called 4th and Goal Every Day. And Phil Savage wrote this book about how Nick Saban crafted his program, how he built Alabama. And it's a really good read because there's a lot of philosophy in there about recruiting size, different weights at certain positions and how they manage that, about how they kind of lightened up their D-line after the Ohio State loss. Some of you may have read the story we did on Kirby Smart talking about how they adjusted their 3-4 defense to the mint. Now they're talking about how Alabama brought in all these great receivers and Julio Jones was on the front end of it. And by 2015, they had this identity of spread and RPOs. And you kind of trace it to what George is doing. And listen, it's no insult. This is where I think people get a little off track here. Kirby Smart spent 11 years with Nick Saban, 8 years at Alabama, helping him build Alabama into what it is. Now, listen, Nick Saban is the boss, and the boss gets the credit. But it would be way wrong to think that Kirby Smart didn't have something to do with the success that Alabama's having, okay? So, of course, Kirby's going to take some things from there because he was a part of building it. Of course, he's going to take some football philosophies from there. The wind is picking up, and it will rain. I don't know to what degree. So, anyway, somebody's calling me out for Kentucky Blue. Walter MacArthur believes that Harrison Bailey is going to be the starting quarterback this year. Walter, I don't know how soon that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did start a game. I think they're going to have a hard time keeping their quarterback healthy because I know that their offensive line is better, but I don't know who they have that's going to catch footballs with Juwan Jennings and Marquez Callaway gone. I know that Georgia has a lot of guys that are going to catch footballs, and they've also got a lot of guys on defense. Let me tell you, I did a story on Keely Ringo for The Morning. You guys are going to like it. Most of you have already read about Keely. Jeff Sentell, who does the Sentell Between the Hedges show or Before the Hedges show on Wednesday night, he's our recruiting writer. He did an unbelievably great setup piece on Keely Ringo. Jeff does this with all the recruits. You know, I think that's one of the things about Dog Nation that we're really proud of, you know, is the job that Jeff does covering recruiting, the stories that he writes. He's in the field. He's meeting these players. He's meeting their coaches and their families, you know. But he did a really good setup piece on Keely Ringo that I looked at. I used a quote from it in my Keely Ringo story that's going to run 9 tomorrow. I'm starting to believe that maybe Keely Ringo, I can't even believe I'm saying this, could start by the end of next year at cornerback. Now, if you would have told me Superman could come in, and I wouldn't have believed that they were going to beat out Tyson Campbell, DJ Daniel, Eric Stokes. I'm still not sure how it works, but for some reason, by the end of the year, I believe Keely Ringo is going to make a start. And that's something that I'm going to be looking for. He's one of those guys on my breakout list. I was thinking about breakout players today. I don't know. Can you all hear the rain? I don't know if you guys can hear the rain. I'm not sure. Can you hear it? Bingo Ringo. Is that going to be his nickname or something? Oh boy, Trey Richmond. Trey Richmond dropping the bomb on Tennessee with the Georgia State reference. That was the beginning of the year. So the rain has started. Sunday night, Memorial Day weekend. Wanted to give you an update. There will be no Monday night on the Beat show. On the Beat this week is going to be Wednesday at noon. We're going to have Greg McGarity on with us. Pretty excited about that, to talk to Mr. McGarity and get his take on the players coming back. On June the 8th, big date, you may have saw the SEC had some guidelines that they were going to test players that were symptomatic. That was an SEC guideline. Georgia is going to take the next step. They're going to give COVID tests to all of the players. The lightning out of the corner of my eye. I don't think I can get hit with. I'm not sitting on a metal chair or anything. I don't think I can be struck by lightning. Hope not. Breakout players. Jalen Carter. Haven't talked a lot about Jalen Carter. 6'3", 305, incoming freshman. When I say impact player, I'm going to say impact more than breakout. Impact because he's going to get on the field. I think that defensive line rotation is going to be pretty deep. I know it's going to be pretty talented, and I know it's going to be salty too. But Jalen Carter is a guy that I've been thinking a lot about that I think is going to have an impact. Athletic, physical, already has that man strength. I mean, look, this wasn't the number one class in the nation for nothing. I mean, they're loaded with guys. Jermaine Burton, a guy that, Terrence Edwards can't say enough about. And how much does Georgia need those dynamic players on the perimeter? Reading that Fourth and Goal book, that Alabama book, you think about it, and what really put Alabama over the top. I mean, yeah, they were physical and dominant in the early years, But when Alabama got those receivers, and I just get the sense that that's where Georgia's going with all this speed on the perimeter. Look at that. It's power. We got thunder coming down. It's about to get really nasty here. I didn't plan on the weather, but it's here. So we'll roll with it. I'll go with it as long as I can. I'm going to try to be a trooper, man. It's Memorial Day weekend, right? We're all remembering the people that sacrificed for our country. So I'll sacrifice a few more minutes here. Darnell Washington, the tight end. You know, you look at Todd Monken's Tampa Bay offense when he led the NFL in passing yardage in, 2018? And they went to the tight ends a lot. They like the tight ends more than they like the backs. So while I do think James Cook is a breakout candidate, I think you'll see Washington or McKitty or maybe Fitzpatrick. I think Georgia's tight ends are going to catch footballs. And I think we're going to see more up-tempo. That's the one element I hadn't really projected, that the more I read, again, reading this Alabama book and thinking about what's worked for Georgia and thinking about this defense and how good they're going to be, I think you're going to see more up-tempo from Georgia. I don't think they're going to be necessarily the most sophisticated offense under Todd Monken, but I do expect them to be up-tempo. I do expect them to move the ball around a lot. I think Jamie Newman's going to throw the ball a lot. Do I think that they'll be 50-50 on run-pass? I don't know. I think that's going to be determined by games. I want to see what Kirby does in the fourth quarter of games when he's up by 2 and 3 touchdowns. Because what's different this year than what's been different the last 2 years is that this is an offense that has to get better as the season goes, because there's a new quarterback, because there's new skill position players, because there's a new coordinator. So this is an offense where you need to keep the pedal on the mat and keep running your offense in the fourth quarter instead of handing off and running clock. I know that's percentage football, but I truly believe this defense is good enough and that Kirby's going to have enough confidence in these guys that you may see more throwing in the fourth quarter than you've seen in the past, not to run the score up, but to try to get this offense in sync, to try to get this offense to evolve, because there was no spring drills. Now, I think we'll have 6 weeks of preparation. The way things are shaking out right now, it looks like the players coming back on camp on the 8th, and they'll be doing some training, some physical training to get in shape with the strength and conditioning coaches, but they're not going to be under the supervision of the football staff, I don't believe, until mid-July. And I believe that's when the 2-week quarantine is going to hit. I think they're going to put the coaches and the players together for 2 weeks, and then in August try to have a typical fall camp. Now, that's provided that things continue on as they are. COVID-19 is the ultimate determinant here. I know everybody winces when we say that word, but it's just an underlying reality we've got to stay aware of. Same thing with fans in the stands. You know, I did a story tonight. I probably should have pinned it, and I'm actually going to do that action right now. I'm going to pin a story. This is like me saying pin the story is like, if you're on the chat, please read this story. But I think this story is important because it's kind of like, okay, now that the players are coming back on campus, you know, what next, right? And to me, the what next is, gosh, I don't know if I can pin it. To me, the what next is we're all going to start wondering about, well, who's going to get in the crowd? Who's going to be there? What order are they going to put people in the stadium? Like Ohio State has a 102,000 seat stadium. They're talking about a model with 22,000 people there, you know, doing the social distancing thing. So what would that be for Georgia? Probably about 18,000. So does that mean 18,000 fans? Not necessarily, but I do think that that's something to consider. Is, will there be social distancing? Will there be masks? And then what is going to be the priority? Well, you've got to have the players' parents in the stadium, number one. To me, first and foremost, the moms and the dads, and then, you know, the player allotment of tickets, that's got to be taken care of. Regardless if nobody else is there, you know, certainly your support personnel, but at very minimum, you got the players' parents. Secondly, I think you've got to have the students of the university there. I think everyone would agree on that. Part of what makes college football special is many of the alums remember when they went to games, a lot of memories made there, a lot of special times. You know, these are traditions that have gone on for generations, particularly in the Southeastern Conference. So you've got to have an allotment for the students. You got to have the band there. You got to have the band. Now, the visiting band, I'm hearing some talk about that. Maybe not the visiting band, but the home band, absolutely. Got to have the marching band, got to have the cheerleaders, got to have the players' parents, got to have the students, got to have the donors. Absolutely got to have the donors. Listen, I'm not about the class system or anything like that, but the people that are donating millions of dollars, the people that are donating their finances into the school so that Georgia can have facilities that are on par with the competition, catching Georgia up. Yes, Georgia is playing catch up. I don't think fans really realize how far behind Georgia was on the facilities. It's pretty well documented that Jeremy Pruitt came in here and threw a fit about no indoor facility. But coming from a program at Tennessee, where I saw Tennessee with these incredible facilities, oh yeah, that does make it. How much of a difference? I don't know. I'm not saying kids just come for buildings, but I think it plays a role. I think it shows the school's investment. And in that 24/7 ranking last year, Georgia's facilities were ranked 8th in the SEC. That's hard to believe, isn't it? That Georgia would rank 8th in the SEC in anything. When you look at the campus, when you look at the academics, when you look at the sports, Georgia isn't a place that should rank 8th in anything. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that with the state and the high schools and the athletes that you turn out and the education that you get in the city of Athens and the central, Georgia shouldn't be lower than 4th in any sport. If you're lower than 4th in any sport, something's wrong. I think the basketball teams should be NCAA tournament teams at least 2 out of every 3 years. Football's doing what it's doing. Baseball's doing what it's doing under Scott Strickland. I think this year was going to be a World Series team. But the facilities were 8th in the league, which tells me that somebody dropped the ball, that somebody wasn't aggressive enough on that front. That's important, when you show kids around your campus, because they're comparative shopping, and they just get a feel, right? Well, you think about it. How many of you have shopped for cars or shopped for houses? And you go, just got a feel about this car. It's not going to be the car that doesn't have the CD player in it, that's missing something that the other car has. The other car's got a better stereo. The other car's got better rims. The other car's got the automatic wipers. And you say, well, it's not any one of those little things. It's just the whole thing about the car. Same thing when kids are shopping for schools, right? It's just something about Neyland Stadium. Just something about Sanford Stadium. Something about this. Something about that. You want to check off every box. And so that's why the donors, particularly the McGill Society, they have to be in the stadium too. When you look at the list of priorities. So how many tickets does that leave, right? If we're talking about players' parents, we're talking about students, we're talking about marching band, we're talking about the high level Silver Circle and McGill Society donors, and then what's left? And then how do you determine? Do you go with lottery? Do you go on seniority? Do you go pure donor level? I mean, what's fair and what's right? And I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to be happy if they can't get into games and they've been going for all these years. But I think people understand that we all got to give up a little bit. So that's one of the things to watch for, is the priority on how the tickets are going to work out. Now, I can already tell you, I'll ask Greg about it, and he's going to tell me that there's many different plans that are being discussed right now. And there are. And the reason why there's so many different plans being discussed is because we don't really know where we're going to be as a society come, September 6th or September 7th. We don't really know. And about that game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it is currently on. But with COVID-19 and indoor versus outdoor, does that change anything? Is there still time where that might change? Could it be that there's no fans at the first game? I mean, I don't know. These are just things I'm throwing out there. I do know this. I do know that we're going to have one heck of a cable television package for college football this year. I tape every game now, but the studio shows are going to rock, because more people than ever are going to be watching college football on television. More people than ever. Advertisers will be racing to get out, because college football will dominate on Saturdays, even more so than now. I expect more college football programs on Friday, day before, and on Sunday, day after. You know, you're going to see more step up from the ACC network. Not sure how Notre Dame is going to do this because I guess if we have the full season, they're fine. But if we go conference only, what does that do to Notre Dame? I'm of the opinion with Notre Dame, this is where I'm at. I'm done with Notre Dame. Listen, I'm a traditionalist, okay? I'm as much a traditionalist when it comes to college football as anybody. But I'm done with Notre Dame because it's not fair for Notre Dame to have their own provisions and their own rules. Look, it's great when teams play Notre Dame. The home and home that Georgia have Notre Dame, I think it was thrilling. I think the 2017 game was great. I think the return game was awesome. But I don't like the way Notre Dame comes in like they're their own conference at the table. Like, you're like, okay, what does the ACC think? What does the Big 12 think? What does the Big 10 think? What is it? And what does Notre Dame think? Well, I don't know. They're one school. They're one school. Join a conference. That's what I think. Isn't it about time Notre Dame joins a conference? I mean, get in. It's not that hard. You're up there in the Big 10 region. You got this little sweetheart deal with ACC. Just go all in, okay? Or don't expect to have the same treatment as an entire conference. The same leverage, I guess is a better word. I feel like Notre Dame's got too much weight, too much leverage, and they haven't earned it for a long time. Fun team to play. Great campus. You saw my stadium rankings. It's in the top 5. But I think this is a day and age where we got to level it out a little bit. Nobody's that much better than anybody else. In fact, I would say, you know, that some of the SEC schools right now, you know, they have as much, cachet as Notre Dame. I just think so. Right now, I mean, look, Georgia's a hot team right now. People want to know about Georgia football. You know, Georgia's still got that, you know, classy, above-board image. But there's more and more teams, more and more fans from other fan bases. I see them. They're baiting Georgia. They're trying to draw Georgia into these fights on Twitter. I saw it today with the Peyton Manning deal. I didn't expect it to blow up. I mean, this thing's got 195 likes. All I did was quote him. You know, he says, I'm not going to let Kirby Smart get a picture of me in black and red for the social media account. Kaboom. Tennessee fans blew up. They said Peyton was dogging Georgia. I didn't take that as dogging Georgia. He's aware of Georgia. He doesn't want to get used in a Georgia social media campaign. Not that Georgia does a lot of that anyway. I think their social media accounts are really above board. Okay, so one more thing I want to cover here. This cartoon football coach that's out there. I know this is a creation of Barstool, and I hesitate to criticize anything that may be related to Barstool because these people will bust they'll bust on you like few others, right? And nobody wants to be a target of Barstool. So, but are people, are there really fans out there watching video games of a pretend coach right now? Is that like a thing? That seems pretty desperate. I mean, if it's if it's me creating my own video guy or my own video team, like we used to do in the NCAA game, that's one thing. But to watch somebody else play video games with a pretend coach, and I'm a little surprised to see the school's official account promote this. I guess it's just happy times and everybody is enjoying it, and I guess as long as it's keeping the brand out there, but I mean, you're watching literally a fake pretend cartoon coach. Maybe this is going to be a thing of the future. Maybe, remember they made the Harlem Globetrotter? No, you don't remember that. Now you know how old, I'm really old. They had a Harlem Globetrotters cartoon. Was there ever, NASCAR tried to do a cartoon? I'm with you, Myra. I prefer electric football. I don't have my electric football board here anymore, but I used to like to play electric football. I would prefer that to watching somebody else play a video game with a cartoon coach. And actually celebrate this stuff. I mean, it's that's desperate. That's just make-believe. But maybe this will be a thing. Maybe people will start making their own cartoons for Saturday. And instead of watching the game when their team is bad, they say, you know what? Instead of watching the game, I'm going to watch the cartoon. Because in the cartoon, I know that my team is going to win. You say, that's ridiculous, Mike. Is it? Because the Twitter is my gauge to just how unrealistic the world's getting. Okay, rain's coming in. It's hitting my camera. I got to cut it short. I've been caught in a Georgia thunderstorm. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Remember, no show tomorrow night, but there will be a show Wednesday at noon with Greg McGarry. Everybody have a safe, wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I'm getting rained out. This is a first. I hope it's the last. Take care.